Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Help Awaken Live Q&A. This is being hosted on our Help Awaken YouTube channel. My name is Garhen, and I am so happy to see you all this morning. So today we're going to respond to this thing about happiness. This is the real crux of everything, it appears. You know, one of our group members had got a hold of us via Messenger, and I actually spoke to, I think, 4 of our group members yesterday via video chat. And, you know, there's a common thread going through all of it. There's a common thread going through all of us. And this thread is the desire for happiness. You know, back when, before Buddha became the Buddha, okay, he was the son of a very rich king or baron in the area, okay, and he wanted for nothing. And one day, after a series of events that let him know that there was something more than the perfection he was seeing in the palace, he decided to leave the palace. And he came to the conclusion that life was suffering. And, you know, as far as Buddhism goes, I have a deep respect. I have spent years in Tibet studying Buddhism. I stayed in monasteries there for a total of 3 years. Traveled to Japan. Studied different sects of Buddhism there and also in India. And I have a deep respect for the philosophy. Buddhism is not a religion. Let's be clear about that. Do not worship Buddha. Buddha is a reminder of what we can all be. Just like Jesus. Exactly. The peanut gallery spoke up.
That's me.
I love having a peanut gallery. It's awesome. Especially such a pretty one. A little nuts, but aren't we all? So, you know, when it comes to the Buddhist idea that life is suffering, I do not agree. I do agree, however, that our egoic sense of suffering is what the real issue is. That false identification with the voice in the head is all you are. And again, we have to be clear about this. We don't want to destroy that voice. We don't want to throw that voice out. What we do indeed want to do, though, is get used to understanding that we can examine what the voice is saying in our head and then make conscious choices regarding it. And this is where one of the big problems come in. I'm going to ask that you actually go online and make a comment and make sure that things are functional that way. So what is the truth about happiness? And the truth about happiness is we always want to be happy. The ego wants everything its way all the time. It involves this far off in the future, some distant state that we're waiting to get to. And our unconscious thoughts about it are, you know, when I get there, I will be happy. When I have this, I will be happy. When I am married to her, I will be happy. When I'm married to him, I will be happy. When I have this new car, I'll be happy. When I have a baby, I'll be happy. There's something that happens, though. We never reach the point of happy. And we have to ask ourselves why. And, you know, we've talked about happiness quite a few times. And, you know, we've also talked about labels and the danger of words and labels. And this is one of the issues we have here, too, that we have to be very careful about. What is happiness? Happiness needs to be separated from joy. Joy is a natural state of being. That's much better. Now the comments are where they belong, and it looks like that we are indeed functional. Happiness will always be based on our egoic perceptions, our perceptions of what we're thinking. It will always be based on that. And happiness is going to come and go. There is no such thing as a permanent state of happiness. The trick is to understand you're not here to be happy all the time. You're here to have experience. You're here to evolve. You're here in conscious growth. And in our case, as human beings, it's mostly unconscious growth. But it's still growth. It's still happening. Joy comes from an understanding deep within you that no matter what you perceive is happening, no matter what you perceive is going on, everything's going to be okay. Joy comes from the understanding that your perception of your suffering is false. It's not real. I'm going to give you a prime example, and you know, again, I am not belittling or trying to minimize anyone's sense of suffering. But I don't mince words with people, and I'm not going to lead you down a garden path on the idea that you can transcend your concept of suffering quickly and easily. It does happen for some people. But for the vast majority of us, it takes honest work. It takes effort. What we're really looking for is that state of joy, and that state of joy you already are. When you get in touch with that life intelligence within you, and again, you want to do that minimal little course that I put up there for a full 30 days with all your heart. Talk to me about it, get a hold of me. We'll have some video discussions about it, and we'll work it through. Watch the videos on the Awaken the World YouTube channel, which has all the course videos there. And all of that will move you towards finding that consistent background state of joy that you truly are. And once that is present within you, once you feel that again, because it is always present within you, well, your happiness can come and go. And it will. Happiness and sadness are necessities. They really are. And maybe the best way to look at it is this. If you were perpetually happy all the time, you would cease to know what being happy was. And really, the same thing happens with joy. You see, the core of our being is love, is joy, compassion. All those words are interchangeable with each other. We're really talking about the essence of what we are, this magnificent being. That ground level of joy is easy to lose touch with because it's always present. We don't understand we're swimming in it all the time. One of the ways you can get back to that base feeling of joy is to find gratitude in the tiniest of things, the simplest of things. Find happiness, allow yourself to be happy at the tiniest, smallest thing that you notice. Whether it's the pretty pattern on a bug that lights on your window, or the reflection of the sunlight coming through the glass in the morning, waking up wrapped in a warm sheet or blanket and being comfortable. These are the places that we begin to cultivate that reminder of the ground joy of being that we truly are. And that's what we're really looking for, is to reconnect with that. Because happiness and sadness are just like hot and cold. You have to experience varying degrees of each in order to know the other. The trick is to be able to relish in the sadness. You know, I don't partake of sadness very rarely, actually, anymore, because I understand that it is an egoic state of being. That whenever I'm feeling sad, that I have lost sight of cosmic reality, of cosmic truth, of universal truth, of the truth of my being and my existence. But once the sadness is manifest, if it does manifest in me, I relish in it. I take in that feeling of sadness. I explore the feeling of sadness. And then I see clearly that I have created the feeling. And then I make a conscious choice to uncreate it, to create something new, to create its opposite. And to do that, I begin by looking around at all the little tiny things I can be grateful for. Like Kelly. She's not a little tiny thing. Although sometimes when she's at a distance, she can look very small. Like waking up in the morning. Like not worrying about a missile flying over my head ruining my breakfast. We have so much we can be grateful for. And it is when... Oh, thanks, sweetie. And it is when we live from the state of gratitude instead of the state of waiting to be happy. You know, when it comes to happiness as opposed to joy, that egoic state, we're always reaching outside of ourselves for it. You know, while the sun is shining, I'm happy. I mean, don't get me wrong, seeing the sun shine causes happiness to well up within me. Wonderful. But I know just as the happiness of the sun coming up in the morning, good morning, Debbie, how are you? I know that the joy that I feel, the happiness I feel when the sun comes up in the morning will one day be replaced with sadness. And that sadness will come on the day I expect it to be sunny. And it's raining. So, because we know we live in a dualistic world where we are going to experience sadness in order to know and experience happiness. And we're going to have this roller coaster of happiness and sadness. And we're happy you're here, Debbie. Way, way over there across the pond. So I'm guessing it must be, 6 o'clock your time. I'm guessing PM. When we cease to put our own state of being in some far off future, when we choose to understand that right now the ground of our being is joy, we can allow that to act as almost like this background universal radiation. Yes, you're still going to experience happiness. And that's great. You know, when we experience happiness, the temple, the body, numerous chemical effects happen. And they're all wondrous for the body. To laugh is divine. And with that will come the sadness. The trick is to be able to relish in the sadness and accept the sadness in the same way that you would accept the happiness. To understand that it's transient. You know, my all-time favorite group that I listen to still, all the time, is Enigma. And one of their songs, the lyrics speak of, don't pay too much attention to the way you feel. It's just the matter of the day. And in fact, the way we feel is really transient. It's not just a matter of the day. It's a matter of the minute. It's a matter of the events we're in. It's a matter of the weather conditions. There's all these things that we allow to affect the way we feel. And until we get to a place where our ability to deal with our own thoughts and our own perceptions is strong enough, there's really only one path to accessing that joy again, and that is surrender and acceptance of whatever is. Now, if you haven't read, it's Gary Zukav, I believe, The Surrender Experiment. Excuse me. If you haven't read Gary Zukav's The Surrender Experiment, I highly recommend you pick the book up. It is a story about a man who decided to accept and surrender to every single little thing that life brought to him, with open acceptance and open surrender. It's a magnificent story. It's a story filled with joy and happiness and sorrow and heartbreak and love. It's an amazing story. And this is our story. This is what we're here. We're here to have this grand dramatic adventure, to gather this amazing experience of being in this physical realm and then relay that information to the whole consciousness of the universe. It is only when we lose sight of what we truly are, what we're truly capable of, do we fall into a place where we are pulled up by the highs in life and dropped into the gullies by the lows of life. And we feel ourselves a yo-yo. Acceptance and surrender of whatever's going on right now, without judgment. You know, it is only our judgments that determine how we're going to feel about something. And I cannot make this more clear to people. We are choosing, consciously or unconsciously, in every moment. We are literally ad-libbing our existence. You know, that ego, that thing that you think you are, that voice in your head, it's the narrator of your life. But it's not living your life. It's part and parcel with your life, but it is not that which lives your life. It is only that which is recording your life. You have the ability to listen to the words that are coming in your head and refute them. To say, no, I will not believe that. I know there's more. I know that what I perceive in front of me may not appear to be what I want, but I know that there's good there waiting for me in it. And in these daily affirmations, in daily working to hack these new trails through our mind, we begin to come back to and reveal a base level of joy in our being. And this base level of joy begins to take those really happy times and temper them a little bit, as well as tempering the sad. And that's not a bad thing either. And it's not that we become dulled to anything. It's that you choose to live in the exhilarating feeling that no matter what you're perceiving, no matter what you're thinking about it, it is part of this grand illusion. It is part of the play. And you are playing your role magnificently. So, what happens when we lose our job? Let's say, you know, for sake of argument, we're making $5,000 a month, and I don't know where the boss phones us up and say, you know, company's broke. Today's your last day of work. And you've lost your job. That would normally cause a lot of sadness in a person. Panic. Be upset. But it is your perception. And here's the thing. Most of our world is still asleep. Most of the people in our world are still asleep. And everything is simply looked at from that sleeping state all the time. And, good or bad, again, those are judgments. When we put good for us or bad for us on it, we are judging. And, this is what I said yesterday to the other members that I talked to personally. It may not be that you are at a place in your development where you can look at everything around you and say, I accept all of this for what it is. And I'm okay. And it's all good. I understand and see the perfection in it. You may not be there at an awareness level to have really internalized that and be fully experiencing it. So until that point, your next best step that you can take is to try to remain in a state of non-judgment. Do not judge it as good or bad for you. Simply allow it to be. And take a I'm going to see what happens attitude. A neutral attitude. You see, the problem with our judgments is immediately when we judge something as bad for us, or that we don't like it, or it's making us sad, we try to push it away. And the things that make us sad, the things that we judge as bad, they're actually trying to speak to us. And the more we push those things away, the more we feel to realize that it is our judgments that is stopping us from getting the messages that life is trying to deliver. We can begin to hear again. We can begin to hear the messages that our experiences are bringing to us, not from a judgmental point of view, but from a point of open expectation to be shown the path that will serve me the best. And in the middle of that, you can feel like you're in the crappiest situation ever. And that comes back to that little bit of faith we were talking about. And again, faith is really simple. It's just trust. Trust that in the entire universe, you're not the only being that the Creator is not caring for. You cannot not be cared for. Faith is the foundation. That trust that there is more to who we are is the foundation of every step you will take forward. It has to be. It has to lie there. At the root of your being, there has to be a faith, a trust that you are more than you would appear to yourself to be. The truth about happiness and the lie of happiness is that you're not going to be happy all the time. As long as you continue to judge, as long as you continue to think that life is happening to you instead of happening through you, as long as you allow your thoughts and your perceptions about what you think to determine your experience, happiness and sadness, the dualistic, relativistic spectrum of our existence will always, always, always apply to you. So what is the way through that? And what is the simplest way through it? The first thing is to understand that the egoic sense of self, that sense of I, wants happiness all the time. It's like a little child that always wants to have its play toys 24/7. And when it doesn't have that happiness, it gets cranky. You're not going to change that very easily. You're not going to fix that overnight. But what you can do is start dropping the judgments. Be willing to accept a wait and see attitude towards life at a minimum. If you can't look with open expectation of what's coming your way, good or bad in your perception, in your thoughts about it, try to become neutral. Give the universe and yourself an opportunity to see what it has for you. And understand that when we feel despair, when we feel sadness, it is an experience. It's no different in many ways than feeling happiness. I mean, the chemical effects on the body are different, but they have to do with what you're thinking about it. I can experience sadness and still have my body release the same happiness chemicals, because I do not view the feeling of sadness and the feeling of happiness as two polarities anymore. I see them simply as opinions that I'm creating. And then I look back down deep inside myself and I see this ground being of joy. You know, part of the issue is that ego always is looking for some prize, that once you get it, you've got it. You know, the enlightenment star. I have an enlightenment sticker. Now I'm happy all the time. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry rice. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry rice. Your world isn't going to turn into some bright fairyland existence overnight. It's really not. What's going to change, what you must change, are your false perceptions about your existence. Your false perceptions about life somehow doing things to you instead of life expressing itself through you and through all of those around you. I'm not going to sell anyone that you can be happy all the time. Most people are far off from that. Far off from that point. But you can develop what I would call spiritual indifference, which is not being indifferent. Indeed, what it is it's being open and accepting of whatever comes, of being able to relish that feeling of sadness, and then when you're done with that feeling of sadness, choose to change what you think. Think on happy things. Look for that one little tiny thing around you that will make you smile. Happiness and its opposite. Anything that we would judge in this relativistic universe comes from our mind. And it must, by its very nature, always have the comparison to go along with it. So to experience happiness, you must experience sadness. To experience up, you must experience down. This is the reality of our dualistic, relativistic existence on this plane. But you can be in this world of duality, but no longer of it. In other words, you can realize that divine connection that is always there, that the ground root of your being is joy, and joy is not a thought. Joy is not a feeling. Joy is an emotional state of your higher being that rises through your being. And if you look, it's there. It's this background little smile that says, no matter what, everything's okay. You have to take it on faith. Start with faith. Start with trust that the suffering that you perceive that's causing you to seek more is indeed a false suffering. It's only designed to cause you to seek more because you are more. The suffering is a choice. We can begin to unchoose that suffering. Much love and namaste to you all. I hope this has been a helpful little video this morning, around about half an hour. And look forward to tonight at 6 p.m., the live help and advice. If there's any other questions, feel free to come online. That's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, same YouTube channel. Again, have a wonderful Wednesday, and we will talk again soon.